Welcome back to the Barry Charles Footy Show as you get the best analysis of rugby league on the planet. Yes, indeed. Remember to smash the like button so we can kick this video to outer space thanks to Matt Burns' beautiful boot. So everyone, we can reach new audiences. Yes, indeed. Let's get it. Let's get to it. This is the review show. Let's get to it at Barry Charles. Well, first off, let's talk about some of the headlines out of the weekend. And obviously the first one to me, Anthony Griffin. How come he hasn't walked off into the sunset? He needs to go. I just don't understand why they haven't just sacked him or he hasn't walked away, one or the other. Just give him the payday, walk him out and put an interim coach in until you get another coach. It's just madness. He should have been gone last year, in my opinion, anyway. But they've decided to say reapply for your job. That's just craziness. He's going to be sacked, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, a month from now. And they should just do it now. After the performance on the weekend, that shows you their big loss. He's just got to go. But that's the Dragons are a basket case at the moment. They've been for a while since Wayne Bennett left. But yes, let's speak to what's actually happening in the rumour mill. Yes, this is one coming straight from Knights HQ. There has been discussions with the Roosters to let go of Dominic Young effective immediately. But the Roosters have no salary cap space after just signing off Nathan Brown. So this will be continuing to be a developing story. Obviously with Jackson Paulo probably playing better than what was expected. Dominic Young might be waiting another year before he gets there, but that doesn't mean the other clubs won't look for Dominic Young, whether or not he would want to go to any other club. There's options of the Tigers, of course, the Dragons. I can't see him going to either of those two clubs. So the two clubs I'll keep my eye out for with Dominic Young before mid-season is the Rabbitohs and, of course, the Parramatta Eels. These are two sides they could do with a decent winger and bring something to the table and for their premiership credentials. I think these are the two clubs they could do with and be a chance to maybe lift them up to closer to winning a title. So it wouldn't be a bad move from either club. Whether or not that actually happens, time will tell. But that has been news around the traps that they are trying to get rid of Dominic Young. And after the way Knights performed on the weekend, it could be more the case. But yes, obviously what else has been happening here? Luke Brooks. This is another side note that the Knights are also trying to get rid of Dominic Young so they can have a play at Luke Brooks again. But we'll be expecting the Tigers to pay for most of his salary. Now that is an option if the Tigers want to try and buy someone else right here, right now. But to be honest, I don't think there's many halves out there in the competition that would be ready to go straight away. The only player that I think the Tigers should be looking for is Braden Trindle. But Braden Trindle, I wouldn't think would come now with the Sharks still being a premiership threat. But Braden Trindle would be the one I'd be looking to sign if I was going to sign anyone for the Tigers. But obviously the biggest news over the last week is the worst kept secret in the game. Joseph Suaalii is off to rugby for 1.6 million bangaroos from 2025. This is always going to be the case, and to be honest, this is what I'll say about this. He's another money bill. He's always been about the money. You can clearly tell by the way he's been going. He's not caring about his future career. He's just caring about he can get the money now. I don't know. He's absolutely he'll be a boxer next, no doubt about it. The way he's going, he just continue to find ways to make money. For some reason, some people just have that opportunity. I don't know why. He is yet to prove he is the best player in the game. So I don't know why he's getting 1.6 million. He has not shown his talent up to the likes of Smith, Slater, Andrew Johns, Lockyer at this stage. So that's where we're at with that one. But yes, to me, he's not going to be a loss. There's another 100 players just like him, and interesting to see where he'll play in rugby. In rugby, probably centre or something like that. I'd expect, maybe even the wing. He could play fullback, I suppose. He's probably a bit more dimensional than some of the other ones that have gone there before, like the Wendell Sailors and Lottie Takiris. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And playing for Australia, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes moving forward for him. But yes, let's get to the review. Yes, first off, on Thursday Night Football, it was the grand final rematch that lived up to expectations. Nathan Cleary came up with the clutch play. You would have thought that would be the one that wins the game, but no, it wasn't. It was Mitchell Moses who gets it done with his field goal himself. And Brendan Hans on debut gets a victory and a try to boot. When the Eels finally get it done, so that's good to see. But they will be without Junior Polo for the next couple of weeks, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. The Penrith Panthers, they are definitely missing the creativity of Api Coruscant. And to 1-1-2 losses, it's only early in the season, but for anyone that doesn't know out there, in the NRL era, you have to win 4 of your first 8 games if you're going to win the premiership, but it's always been the case. No one's ever won it from that far back. Some people were made the grand final from 3 wins, 5 losses, but they've never actually won the comp. So that's your benchmark when we get to the 8th round. If your team hasn't won 4 games, they won't be winning the premiership in 2023. All rules are meant to be broken, but that's pretty much what the standard is to win the comp. Yes, Parramatta, overall, I think we're the better team. They probably should have won by more, to be honest. They shouldn't have got to Golden Point, but it's Ryan Madison proved his worth, but 3 weeks on the sideline instead of could have been playing for 3 weeks. Could be costly for their season, Ryan Madison there, but he did play very well. 146 metres, 58 tackles, a big game from him. Obviously the 2 props again going for 200 metres, and Clint Gutherson as well. Mitchell Moses kicking game, he kicked 1,000 metres. It's craziness. He was absolutely on fire. Unbelievable. Bryce Cartwright getting back to his best. This is good signs for Parramatta. I have been very critical of them the last 3 weeks, to be honest, and still concerned for them, but obviously Ryan Madison helps, but they really do need Sean Lane back, and the team would help even more. But the Panthers, Zach Hostings is good for his debut for the Panthers. Obviously Dylan Edwards and Sanoa Tuarua going for big meters, and Brian Toho as well, and Isaac Logo. So really crazy stuff. 200 and 300 meters. All these guys ran is craziness. But obviously what's happening in Penrith forwards didn't do much. So a lot of the work can be done by the backs, and this is a common thread in the NRL. Maybe they've got to pay the wingers more. Yes. Maybe the wingers need to be paying the 700, 800k because they're doing all the running and also scoring the tries. So maybe that's the future of the game. The props are going to really drop down to like 400,000 because they don't really do much. And more about that later. But getting back to this game, yes, I've got. I thought that the Eels probably should have won by 18, but that wasn't the case. I honestly believe out of this game that both these guys, number 7s, have the talent to make the grand final, but I just don't know if the overall squad this season from Paramount or Penrith are good enough to win the comp in 2023. I like to be proved wrong, but I just got a feeling both these teams have completely come back to the pack and won't be in the grand final in 2023. Obviously, Moses Leota has gone down. Crichton, he's been very quiet this season. Interesting to see what happens with him. They're just not the same players as they were. They lost a bit of swagger, so is Luai as well. But yes, the positives for Penrith, obviously, Tuarua been absolutely carving it up on the wing. when Taylor May went down and Charlie Staines had left, and there was a big loss expected there, but he's been outstanding, been one of the best Senior over the first 3 games. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams continue to go into the season, but I'm not convinced either are going to win the premiership. Let's go. And the three-peat, not happening for Penrith, I don't think. Let's go to Friday night football at Amy Park with the Storm taking on the Tigers in a game that didn't really lead to much, but it was a 24-12 win to the Melbourne Storm. In the first half, Peasant was the best player on the field with some outstanding attacking plays. But the second half was a real fizzer and nothing really much doing. It was lackadaisical attack, and it just wasn't the footy you'd expect from a Melbourne Storm team. They got the win. But one of the question marks too for me, obviously one of the talking points out of the game, Nick Meaney, what was doing there? Absolutely, don't know what happened. He just didn't look the other way, and he was just hoping the ball was going dead, and Api Coruscant just pulled his pants down. Absolutely good try, but that was about the only play from Api Coruscant too, to be honest. He's not running enough meters, old Api Coruscant. I just don't know what's happening there. Not the Coruscant we have known. Obviously, he's playing in a team where the halves are not really gelling, but that's something we'll talk about soon. The completion rates for both teams were pretty solid, to be honest. So you wonder why there wasn't many points in the second half, but they just didn't. Both teams didn't really show much in attack. Will Warbrick was obviously one of the Storm's better players, going for 200 meters. He was very good. Cameron Munster gave them a bit of direction that they needed, and that was probably what got them the win. Jocelyn Olam slowly getting back to his best. Yes, it's going to be an interesting old. But Harry Grant didn't run for many meters, and a lot of hookers seem to not be running for as many meters this season. I don't know what's happening, but they really need to if they want to. He should be running 100 meters a game, but obviously playing the 80 minutes is making it harder for Harry Grant than trying to make him a Cameron Smith. He's not a Cameron Smith. He's not built to be Cameron Smith. He's got a great 60 minutes in him, and I tell you what, they really need that back. For the Melbourne Storm to push back into Premiership force. I think they're a top 18, but Premiership force, I don't think so. Not with Harry Grant playing 80 minutes, because I think the fitness is not there. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, very good player. But I just think he's not an 80-minute footballer to get the best out of him. Trent Lalore, he played pretty good. So was it all on Katoa? Yes, so with the second rowers and locks playing a lot. Josh King playing a lot better. That's good signs for the Storm. They obviously still got a few troops out, which will make them better when they come back, but they're a long way away. For the Tigers, they're obviously, what are they doing, to be honest? With Dewey, Brooks, Coruscant, Klima, Papali, Bateman. They're just not... these guys need to be running up the middle. All these guys. Brooks, Dewey, Coruscant, Klima. This is the type of football that they should be playing. If they watch the Warriors the first round, the way they played, that's the way the Tigers got to play. Straight up the middle. I'll keep saying this repeatedly. They have the players that just barnstorm you. That's what they need to do. Play like the old school Broncos. That's what the Tigers have. They have all these good ball runners. They should just be running straight up the middle, and they will deliver some performances. Not the razzle dazzle. Straight up the middle. That's the players they've got. If they want to razzle dazzle, they need to get rid of Luke Brooks. So I'm not... and obviously everyone's saying that Mitchell Moses has gone to the Eels, but there's been no official announcement, so who knows what's happening there. But I doubt he'll be coming to the Tigers now, for what I can see. But they obviously need a Nathan Cleary, and as I said before, I think Braden Trindle is the man they should be looking at, and they can get him for like 800,000 instead of 1.5 million to get Mitchell Moses. Money well spent. You can spend that money on someone else. The Storm, yes, they're going okay, but they don't look like they're going to be winning the premiership in 2023. Yes. Now let's go to the Friday night football. And it may not have been the greatest game for the purists, but in terms of entertainment in the end, in the last, there was head bobbing. The first game of the Brisbane rivalry of the Red Cliff Dolphins, well, the Dolphins and Brisbane Broncos went ahead at Suncorp Stadium, and it was a ripper, especially the last bit of the game. Not if you're a Dolphins fan, but it was a very good game. It was good to see Anthony Milford come back to some sort of form. Obviously, the injury to Sean O'Sullivan, will that derail their season? He's going to be out for 3 to 4 months. So, to me, that could be it. Be interesting to see if Anthony Milford can step up and play like he did for Wayne Bennett before. He had a very good solid game. But unfortunately, unfortunately for the Red Dolphin, the bounce of the ball just went straight to Katoni Stagg, and he ran 100 metres to win the game. So, interesting to see how that goes going forward. But yeah, Reece Walsh was outstanding for the Broncos. Obviously, he had that knock on near the end of the game that could have cost him the game. But apart from that, he was very outstanding. Tony Staggs has really found some form. And to me, he's pushing to be in the best 17 for New South Wales if he can continue this form. It's going to be interesting to see. I can see our way that Stephen Crichton is out on current form. This looking Kurt Capel, well, what a play. One of the ones in the game, obviously, with Katoni Staggs. The completion rates were disappointing for both teams. The Dolphins on 70 and Broncos on 67%. They still won. So, obviously, to win a game like that, it's exciting for you Broncos fans to get in one, even though it wasn't your greatest game. And pretty much getting a get out of jail free card. So, they've used that up here early in the season. But Adam Reynolds' kicking was off. They got way more tries, but he couldn't nail the kick most of the day. We managed to get one, no matter, but the question marks over that. Players have played good for the Dolphins. The Hammer continues to play well, and he's pushing for a Queensland spot. Osako is playing well. Jesse Bromwich continues to prove that he's not all washed up and he's not over the hill. Same can be said for Jared Wallace and Mark Nichols. They're both playing very good football. But I don't think the Dolphins will hold on to the top 8 spot. But to be fair, they play well without Kafusi as well. They definitely can make the top 8 now because of the great start. But with Sean O'Sullivan out, I think this could be the derail that needs. So it's going to need some big stuff from Mundine and Katoa now. A lot of pressure on Katoa. Yes, it was a very good game of football. The Broncos obviously 4 wins from 4. I keep asking this question for the Broncos. I don't know if we will see the best out of them in the grand final or those sort of finals with their current hookers. But this season it's been proved that hookers may not be needed to win the comp, which is a total change from when Cameron Smith was playing. But maybe it's a change that has been happening. The fullbacks are the key players right here, right now. Let's have a look at the first game on Saturday night football, or Saturday afternoon football. The Cowboys getting it done against the Titans. Yes, they got it done. It was a bit of a fizzer on attack for both teams. They both looked disjointed. I didn't see enough from either team to suggest they can win the premiership at this stage, but obviously Scott Drinkwater can bounce back, and obviously Cowboys are a chance to win the competition, but they need to get their act together sharply. And for me, for the Gold Coast Titans, Jalen Campbell has to start. I think he should have been the fullback at the start of the season. I think he's got the most potential in that position, but I think AGA Brimpton is a perfect 14 in this type of environment, coming off the bench, and he would be very much like Dylan Walker at the Warriors. With the injuries to Foreign and AJ Bribson, likely to both be out. Toby Sexton will make a return. The spine is slowing this team down, obviously. I'm just not sure what's the best 17? Is it the coach's fault? Is it the player's fault? I don't know what's happening there. There's a bit of issues there. And if it continues, it's going to be a long season. But Khan Pereira has been a revelation so far this season. Janie Campbell was excellent in this game. But the forward pack, David Fafita, Tino, they were outstanding. And Futueka, I mean, they played, their forward pack played enough to win this game, but they just couldn't get it done on attack. So disappointing for Titans fans out there. Tom Chester, wow, how about that? How about that for a try? Yeah, unbelievable. That try was a knock on, kick-a-thon, head-a-thon. It was like playing soccer, and somehow he scored the winning try there. But yeah, but what can I say? It's going to be a bit of a long road ahead for this team. For the Titans, I think they're bolter's chance for the top 8, but I just not sure they get it done in their halves. They will need to bounce back. Yes, so it's going to be interesting to see. And now let's get to the game of the round. Yes, the Rabbitohs won the games of the round. Rabbitohs versus Manly. Did it live up to the expectation? It was a pretty good game. But I was just not fully convinced from either side, but a bit of emotion in this game with John Sattler. They had to get it done, and the 13-point win for John Sattler was a fitting point in the end of the game. The clapping for 30 minutes was outstanding, and the minute silence was great to see that they got that done. But Cody Walker, wow. Where do you get that, mate? You need to do that every week. I don't know, Cody Walker. He could be an absolute freak of a player, but he just goes in and out of games. A bit like Sean Johnson, in effect. Very much in similar mould. Yes, my concern is the spine. The Try Mitchell. Damien Cook needs to... He was quiet. And Lachlan Ilias, even though he got the field goal at the end. But apart from that, they need to really find some form. But they got the win, the Rabbitohs. It's the main thing. They needed to get the win for their season. It was much needed one for them. From the Manly side, Tom Turbo, Ruben Garrick and Koala are pretty much carrying this team. The forwards pack wasn't doing much. They need to improve big time. Yes, from what I saw from these two teams, I expect them to be there come finals time, and they're both potential grand finalists. But obviously, the spine is huge for the Rabbitohs to go anywhere. They really need to fly off the radar and really deliver there. And obviously for Manly, Daly Cherry Evans and Tommy Turbo need to deliver going forward. They need to stay fit if they're any chance to win the premiership. Let's go to Mount Smart Stadium, or whatever it's called now, the Warriors. Stay in the top 4 with a gutsy victory by 2.16 to 14 against the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs came out flying. They looked the better team early on. Matt Burton's kicking game was on fire. Josh Adaka, what a try down the... absolutely... It was very controversial, obviously, that the kick-out stripped the ball and they said it was a knock-on. There was a try, and then about 5 minutes later, they were down there again, and Charles Nickel-Cox there dropped the ball, and they said play on, and they ended up scoring a try, not long later. So a bit of justice there for the Warriors, but it was a bit of controversy in that game. But I think the best team ended up winning. Yes, I thought the Bulldogs needed more from Flanagan. I've been saying that for a while. They do need more out of him. Unfortunately, Matt Burton just kicking. It's getting too much of the same thing. Matt Burton just kicking to the Edward Cossey all day, and really, it was just nothing much doing. Because they probably had enough ball to win the game too. If they were a bit smarter, their kicking game wasn't quite up to the likes of the Warriors. The forward pack was very quiet, and that was probably another big difference in the game. Fanua Brown getting injured, disappointing. When you look at the Warriors side, to me, it's going to be interesting. What I liked from the Warriors here was bald the bald Warriors. Yes, Walker and Tavaga absolutely coming on and being outstanding off the bench, and two little pit bulls just attack, 1-2 punch, boom. When the Anthony Black's off, they're not missing much, and it's really good for the Warriors. They showed some grit in defense, which they needed to, but they were a little bit disappointing in the attack. I thought that was something the Warriors need to improve on. The attack in the red zone, they really didn't bring up much attacking plays. I think they needed to go more up the middle instead of going sideways. I think that's a question mark. That's something for the Warriors to improve on. Sean Johnson, salute. Absolutely, I bagged you the last few weeks, but you really have put it together the last couple. Good to see. Let's hope you can continue. The real pressure will be on next week as he takes on the Sharks. This is a much needed scope to see where the Warriors are. Nico Hines is back after having his performance yesterday. It's going to see how good the Warriors are and see where they're really at against the Sharks. If they get blown off the water with the Sharks, they're back to might be a top 8 team. But if they can win this game, then I can say they're a chance of being a premiership team if they can beat the Sharkies. So this is going to be a game to see where the Warriors are at this week coming up. We obviously talked about the controversy of the strip of the ball. Maybe the ref needs to have 11 days off for the HIA. I think that's a possibility there. So interesting. This for me, from what I've seen, both teams have chances of making the top 8. Whether they can go to the next level up, that'll be time will tell for both Bulldogs and Warriors fans. But you have to be excited at the way both teams played footy. Just a little bit more improvement both teams in the attack, then they could really push themselves up to being a top 8 contender. The Knights and the Raiders on the Sunday footy. To be honest, if you looked on paper, the Raiders should have won this game, but at the end of the day, they found a way to lose. No excuses. I mean, Fogarty wasn't that big a loss for mine, but it looked like it. I think the Raiders are an issue. Making the top 8 now from what I've seen. I don't see it happening for them. The Raiders, interesting. They made a lot of yardage and had enough to win the game, but they just couldn't get the ball over the line. Well, if you look at some of the players on the day, Lockie Miller 255 meters, and Greg Margie 275, and the 3 others in the back 5 making 100 meters. Safiti 169 meters. He played outstanding. Maybe, this is an interesting one for me. What to do here? I really think the Knights aren't that great a team either. From what I've seen, both these teams are near the bottom of the table on their performance. Obviously, Joseph Tapine was outstanding, and Bradman Best back to his best as well. If you look at the stats, the Raiders probably should have won this game, but they didn't look like a team in sync. A lot to improve on for both teams. I'm just concerned. Obviously, Sebastian Chris ran a lot of meters in this game, but it's just not clicking. I don't know what it is. It's just not clicking, the Raiders, and they really need to improve. And the Knights was actually good to see them win because I wasn't expecting that. And the final game of the round was probably the one I was most expecting to happen. 40 points to 8, the Sharks over the Dragons. And Anthony Griffin so far is still in the seat. That just mind boggles me. But anyway, Nico Hines returns was outstanding. But if you look at the Dragons, only Blake Laurie, 124 metres was the biggest metres of any player at all. Torres Lane was only like 70 metres. It was just an absolute joke. They really just gave up in the second half, the Dragons, and I've got big concerns for you fans there. Not looking good. especially with the fade out against the Broncos last week. There's a fraction between the Steelers and Dragons supporters out there, and I think they need a lot more out of that. I'm very concerned for you fans. The Sharks, I think the game is a little bit blown out of proportion, and maybe it's not as good as the Sharks were. I think we'll get a bigger read against the Warriors to see, because the Warriors have been very good defensively, so it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. Sharks probably expected to win, but the Warriors definitely can upset there. Thank you for watching the review show, and we will return again in a couple of days' time to preview round 5 and see where your club's at in the top 8 and everything else. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel and share this out to all your friends. Have a great day out there. Rugby League's the greatest game of all.